After our first Answers for Atheists video went live, we received a couple of amazing comments on that video from atheists. And one of those questions inspired us to make this next video to expand on that first one. Welcome to the second video in the series called Answers for Atheists. This series is designed to attempt to equip Christians with logical answers for common objections used by atheists. However, we know that some atheists will watch these videos as well and have thoughts and questions about them. On that last video, there was one comment from user Loving One Another that really struck me. And their comment said, "The problem of evil. You know that your daughter is to face sexual assault. This is the omniscient side of God. You have the power to stop it, as the omnipotent part of God. You are watching it happen, as the omnipresent part of God. You claim to love this person, being benevolent, but you just watch it happen." Now, this is an awesome comment, and it's an important comment because a lot of Christians also struggle with this concept. It calls into question the very nature of God as it has been presented by Christianity. So I felt this warranted its own video. For this video, I want to break it down into a simple example so that everyone can grasp what we're trying to get to. So let's set this example in the Old West, with cowboys and tumbleweeds and whatnot. Imagine that you are the founder of a town. Maybe you found a really nice little area, with a nice river and a waterfall off in the distance on the mountains. And so you decide you're going to settle there and start a town. Now, prior to founding this town, you had a friend, and this was a very close friend, but somewhere along the way, that close friend betrayed you. Maybe they tried to steal your cattle because cattle rustling was a great big deal back then. So whatever the case, now this previous friend, hates you. They hate what you love. They're jealous of you. They have become your enemy. So you build this town and all these other people come and settle. They move into the town with you. And they set you up as mayor. And so one of the first things you do is you set up a town council. You create a contract with that town council that allows them to set their own laws and to rule however they see fit. And this contract is completely binding. You must abide by this contract at all times. Now, for a while, everything is perfect. There's no crime, everyone is happy, you don't even need a jail in town. It's just a perfect place. But somewhere down the road, your enemy comes along. And what your enemy does is he goes and tries to convince the town council to amend their contract. And the amendment that they take on makes your enemy the new mayor. But it continues to hold you to your part of the contract. After all, you set the contract to allow them to set the rules that they want. Now, the rules that they set don't just remove you from being mayor, but they actually kick you right out of town. You're not even allowed to step foot within the town limits. You could just move on to another town, but you love the people there and want to make sure that they're going to be okay and there's going to be a way for them to continue on. So the enemy is now the new town mayor, and swaying the council's decisions, he convinces them that the mayor position really doesn't have any power. It's the town council that has all the power, even though the amendment that he created and had them sign actually gives him almost absolute control. But the enemy knows that you love this town. So not only does he want to rule the town, he wants to hurt you by hurting the town people. So in secret, the enemy starts convincing people to hurt each other. Now, let's say that you receive word that your enemy has convinced one of the town's people to hurt a young girl in the town. Maybe even someone that you consider to be like a daughter to yourself. Now, because you are legally bound by that contract, you can't just walk into town and stop it. So you wait just outside the city limits and some of the roads there and convince some of the passers-by to bring warnings back into town. So those people go into town with those warnings, But for some reason, no one believes them. In fact, those people get called crazy for even suggesting that something like that might even happen. So you think, okay, I'll write an open letter to as many people as possible, and you do. And the few people who do believe you spread that letter around town. But again, many people just simply ignore it or argue that it's even real or start taking things out of context, criticizing details, just generally not listening to the letter. Even worse, your enemy somehow starts convincing some of the ones who believed you to start doing bad things to other people in the town, thinking that it's what your letter was telling them to do. But despite all this, despite your enemy's best efforts, there are a few people in town who believe the warnings. They believe the open letter, and they go outside town to find you. And they do. And so they go back into town and try to save as many people as possible from those bad things from happening. And some people are saved from those bad things, but many more people don't believe and aren't in a position to stop the bad things from happening. So, unfortunately, this young girl gets hurt, and your enemy is right there to tell people, well, if the founder was so good and he knew this could happen, then why didn't he come and stop it? In fact, we haven't even seen the founder for a long time. Maybe he's dead. Actually, maybe the founder is just an ideal. Maybe he's not even real. I mean, there's no evidence of him here in town, so really. Now, as town founder, you'd be crushed. But you need to find a way to first convince more people that they're being manipulated and they can get free from that manipulation and get under a new contract that makes your enemy no longer have control over them. But you need to create a plan for that, a plan that will eventually remove the enemy from town and stop him from causing these bad things from happening. But that's going to take time, maybe a long time. And that's maybe for another video down the road. Now, in the Bible, Jesus tells a very similar story to this. In Mark chapter 12, Jesus begins, "A man planted a vineyard. He built a wall around it, dug a pit for pressing out the grape juice, and built a lookout tower. Then he leased the vineyard to tenant farmers and moved to another country. At the time of the grape harvest, he sent one of his servants to collect his share of the crop. But the farmers grabbed the servant, beat him up, and sent him back empty-handed. The owner then sent another servant, but they insulted him and beat him over the head. The next servant he sent was killed. Others he sent were either beaten or killed until there was only one left, his son, whom he loved dearly. The owner finally sent him, thinking, 'Surely they will respect my son.' But the tenant farmers said to one another, 'Here comes the heir to this estate. Let's kill him and get the estate for ourselves.' So they grabbed him and murdered him and threw his body out of the vineyard. 'What do you suppose the owner of the vineyard will do?' Jesus asked. 'I'll tell you, he will come and kill those farmers and lease the vineyard to others.'" So I want to present this concept. Maybe God does care, and maybe he wants to help. Maybe he wants to save people, but he's bound by a contract that he set with mankind, who immediately transferred that contract to the enemy, which allows the enemy to rule and allows the enemy to create a situation where he can hurt God by hurting people. As I mentioned in the previous video, the scripture says the enemy has sway over the whole world. Maybe that's why God uses people to spread his word. People who have heard of him have gone out to seek him, and they've found him, and now they want to help save as many people as possible. Matthew 7 verse 7 says, "Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you." So all I can do is say this. I encourage you, if you wonder about a benevolent God, my thought is seek him. He will reveal himself to you. That's what he promised to do in his word. And many people who have sought him have found him. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of this video. Please feel free to leave a comment or a question or any thoughts you might have. Also, please take some time and subscribe to this channel. Follow us on Facebook or check out our website. Have a great day.